Hello everyone, my name is Prodesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to show you how to define a prefix keymap for Emacs. In other words, how to have nested keymaps so that you can hit a key and it will give you access to more keys for you to complete the sequence. Let me show you how this looks and then we can work on the code. I will now activate my own prefix keymap, which I bind to the Control Z key. With the help of the which key package, which key mode in this case, I get a preview of all the incomplete key sequences and it shows me what is completing this sequence, and by completing we mean another key binding and the command that corresponds to it. In this case, Control Z followed by any of those keys will invoke the given command. We will see, for example, Control Z and 0 will delete the window. Whereas there are other entries here, such as buffer, which start with the 3 dots. This is just a customization of mine, which means that if I type B, instead of calling a specific command, I will activate another keymap, and that keymap has more commands for me to execute. So let me type B and see what we have. And we have here all these options available to us, and we just hit a key and it does. For the sake of completeness, I will just type M to bring something up. It doesn't really matter what it is. The point is that we can nest keymaps like that. Let us then work on the code and see how we can achieve this using standard Emacs facilities. Note that I will be using Emacs 29 over here. So I assume that you are on Emacs 29, but what I am showing can be achieved on earlier versions. Only some functions are different. The functions that I will be using are keymap set and the def keymap. So these functions are in Emacs 29, a function and a macro technically. So if you are on older versions of Emacs, you can achieve the same results, but in a slightly different way. Let's start then by defining a key and see how that works. We have the keymap set command, the keymap set function rather, which accepts 3 arguments, and we can see those arguments reflected in the lower part of the screen in the echo area with the help of the built-in LDoc mode. And it highlights the current argument that we are passing to keymap set. This argument is a keymap and it is a variable just like this, an unquoted symbol just like that. And then we will define a key. One way to do this is by writing it as a string, for example this, and then we will have a definition, meaning what does this key do. If we want to disable it so that this key does nothing in the global map, we can have it like this. And now if I type Control T, it will say in the echo area, Control T is undefined. There are lots of keymaps in Emacs, but we will get into that later. For now, let's use the global map and let's define a test command. And I will have here a test command. Command in Emacs refers to a function that has the interactive specification. This makes the function a command. The interactive spec over there is basically telling Emacs that, hey, you can use this with MX or with a key binding. Otherwise, you cannot. You can only call it from Lisp. And what this command will do is just echo a message. This is a test, just like that. And we will evaluate this, and then I can evaluate this as well. And let me type now Control T, and it is telling me this is a test. And we can also see on my mode line with the help of keycast mode, I can get a representation of the key I typed and the command corresponding to it. you have used a variation of keymap set in one way or another. Maybe you have used the define key function, which is in older versions of Emacs. And for the sake of completeness, I will just have it here since I started typing it out. You may see it this way. The KBD function makes sure that Control T is translated into the keyboard representation of it, and then test command. So this and the above are the same. But you may have also used it inside of a use package macro, for example, where here you are declaring some package, and this package has a bind, and you have this, which is test command. So you may have used this variation instead. But fundamentally, what you are doing is associating a key with a command. It's always like that. When we want to define a prefix keymap, we don't want to use a command. What we want to use instead for the binding is a keymap. And a keymap is a variable that holds a key, so like string and command values. For this, I will use def-var keymap to define my own keymap right here, my test prefix map, just like that. And I will give it the doc like my prefix map, whatever, just like that. And then after this, I can add a string followed by the symbol of a command. So I will have, in this case, let's have T for test command. Let's use it like this, test command, like that. And what I will do now is I will evaluate this just like that. And let's now do the following. I will take this and I will paste it here. Let's have it like this. And instead of test command, notice what I will do here. I will delete the command and I will do my test prefix map, just like that. And now I have made Control T give me access to the contents of my test prefix map. In this case, of course, the contents only include the test command. So I type Control T and then T to activate the test command. But I could use this to have any other keys over here. For example, I will have F for find file. Let's have it like this, find file, and let's say D for DRED, like that. Let's evaluate this and this again. And now I will type Control T, and now I get D for DRED, F for find file, T for test command. So if I type F, for example, I get the find file prompt just like that. Let's now take this a step further and define a nested keymap. So I will do def var keymap, same as before, and I will say my test, for example, buffer map. And if you want, you can also have it my test prefix if you want to have the same naming scheme. My test prefix, and here we will have doc my prefix map for buffers, just like that. And in this case, we will have S for switch to buffer. By the way, I am using the sharp quote here. I didn't use it before, but I think this is a good point to mention it. But let me just write this out. And then we have the, I think it's like this, buffer menu. Buffer menu. No, it's with lowercase. Okay, so we have those two. The sharp quote, so the hash, what we have over here, the hash and the single quote. What this does is it's the same functionally, it's the same as the single quote, but it has the different semantics. It tells the person who reads this, as well as the Emacs Lisp byte compiler, that what follows is a function. It's not a symbol of any kind, it's specifically a function. And usually you will see this in packages and stuff. You will see this and not this, okay? But just keep it in mind. I have both here for you to be able to see them in action. So I have defined my buffer map, and now I want to be able to access this from inside of my prefix map. So I will put it here. Same principle as before. Instead of giving it a command and quoting the symbol of the command, we will give it a key map and we will not quote it like this. And we have buffer map just like that. So we can evaluate this, and then let's evaluate this as well. And let's see what we have now. Control T, and you will notice now that I have B and it tells me prefix, and then I have the others that I had before. So if I type B now, it is giving me access to buffer menu and switch to buffer. For example, if I type S, I now have the mini buffer prompt to switch to a buffer just like that. Everything that pertains to prefix key maps is basically encapsulated in this. However, we still have one small problem, which is if we are using which key, we don't have the name of the key map over there. So it's kind of hard for us to figure out what B means. We just have a generic prefix word over there. And of course, if you have lots of nested key maps, this is hard to understand. Let me just go to my .emacs where I have the code for this so that we don't have to type it all out. And it's which key, it's exactly this that we are interested in. Let's copy this and let's go back to the scratch, and I will just paste this here, and let's see what we can do with this. I will tell you what this syntax means, but let's remove this first and add my test prefix, and then it is a buffer map, just like this. Let me also change this to my test prefix map, and I will evaluate it, and then I will tell you what this syntax is. Let's see if it works. You see, now I called it buffer on the letter B. Let's quickly figure out what this thing does over here. We have a comma, we have a backtick. What is going on here? Let's understand what the backtick and the comma does by using an example. What I will do here is I will just define a variable called test hello, and its value is hello, like that. Simple as that. And so now if I call test hello without quoting it, I can type Control J in the scratch buffer to get the value printed below. So I get test hello. So if I now run a function which says the value is, let's see here, the value is, and then what the return value of this is. So let's see, we have 1, 2, and test hello. Notice that here I have a straight quote. So for this part over here, there is a straight quote. Oops, sorry. Like here, we have a straight quote over here. And what the straight quote means in Emacs, or generally in Lisp, is that what follows, which in this case is this list that you see highlighted, what follows, I want you to take it literally. Do not evaluate it. Take it as is. So in this case, if I print this message, I will not get the value of test hello. I will just get test hello. And we don't always want this. Sometimes we want to tell Emacs that, yes, I want you to take the list as is, but some elements of the list, I want you to evaluate them. So let's copy now this and see the difference. So I want to tell Emacs, hey, this part, the test hello element, I want you to evaluate it, but 1 and 2, I want you to take them literally. And for this to work, we just have to change the quote to the backtick. So when I evaluate this, Emacs will do what it was doing before, meaning that it takes everything as is, except for when it encounters the comma, at which point it will return the return value of that symbol over there. So now we get 1, 2, and hello. Let us then return to what which key is doing over here, where it is taking the prefix map, the specific key map that it should translate, and it finds the key. We are specifying the key that accesses that is relevant here, and we are telling it, I want you now to take a list as is, so take buffer as is, but take the key map over here, not as is, but the return value of it. And this way, which key can give us the prefix key map while giving it the name we want. If it wasn't a prefix key map and it was just a function, then we wouldn't need this. We would just do the name and the function without a comma. This is the idea. So that's all for now, folks. We have the ability to define a simple prefix key map in Emacs without external packages. We see how it looks over here. You will notice that in my case, I have, for example, H for help. Just let me finish on this. So in Emacs, there are lots of key maps that are built in, which hold the value of many other keys. For example, I can type H here, and we have the help map, just like that. And if you go and do MX, help map MX, MX, okay. I am using escape and X because I'm trying not to hold down modifier keys. So there is that. And we do describe key map and help map. In this case, we will get a help buffer, and this help buffer has all the key bindings associated with it. We get to see them over here and what they are doing. So by defining this over here and then just like that, evaluate. If I now do my prefix key map, I get the H for the help prefix, and just like that, I gain access to all the help commands of Emacs. So I don't need to define a new key map and one by one add all the commands over there. I can reuse what Emacs already provides. And of course, if you want to rename it, you will copy this part over here. Let's do it. If you are using which key, let's have it like that. We have H, and H is for help, just like that. And the name is help map, right? So we have it here. Let's see if it worked. And of course, I didn't type help, I typed hello, but you get the idea. It's still correct. Finally, just for you to clearly set the prefix map where it needs to go. In Emacs, we have lots of different key maps. We have the global map, which is what applies by default. And you should normally be adding keys to that map. If you are using use package, do I have it here? This means to the global map. And actually, this would be, if we were to be more explicit, this would be like this. We would say map like that, and then we would have this map, and here it would be the global map, of course. We would have like this. So in this case, when you are omitting the map keyword, you are saying global map. This is the idea with which key, with the use package. In the global map, as we said, you define everything that applies by default. But in every major mode of Emacs, we have a major mode specific key map. and major modes will take precedence over the general map. So if there is, for example, Control T in the Emacs Lisp mode, which I am using right now, technically the Lisp interaction mode, but if Control T is defined in this key map, it will override the Control T that I defined in the global map. And then there can be minor mode key maps, which override those of the major mode as well. But don't overthink it. If you find a key such as Control Z, I think that is a good key for a prefix, or any of the keys that are like this, Control T, for example, that is potentially another good key if you are not using the transposition of characters. So these are totally fine to use as a prefix key maps. So there is that, and just make sure that you have that figured out. If you need to check what a key binding does, remember that you can always do Emacs describe key or Control HK with the default key bindings, and you can type, for example, the key you are interested in and see what it does. For example, I want to learn what Control, I don't know, Control R does, and it is telling me what this is doing. So you can find the key you are interested in and determine whether it is worth it for you to override it or not. So there is that. If you type a prefix, as I did earlier with Control T, for example, it won't give you what the prefix is because this is not a complete key sequence. So it's waiting for you to type something else. But if you see that this prefix doesn't have something you are interested in, you can just override it and you are good to go. Finally, let me show you the last thing. Let me disable which key mode, and we will see this now, which key mode. And let's type an incomplete key sequence without which key. So I am typing now my prefix key, Control T. In theory, if it's my key map and I use it all the time, I know all the keys by heart. I am using strong mnemonics, and so I don't need which key to show me, the key map all the time. And me personally, I don't use a which key, but I have it for video demos such as this one. But let's say that I forgot. So I typed something and then I forgot. With Emacs, when you type an incomplete key sequence, you can follow it up with Control H. And what this will do is it will take what you have typed and produce a help buffer showing you what completes in the current map, what completes what you typed. So I typed Control T, and now Emacs is telling me that Control T extends to Control T and D and F, etc. And then to all those nested key maps you see. H, you may remember that I said it there. So it has all that. And then B, it's the other key map that I specified, the nested key map. So we have that in action. So you can use this as well if you don't need which key and you want to have some reminder from time to time. That's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care and goodbye for now.